welcome to another Moto Stories with Unkie Phil. I've got a very special guest in the shop tonight.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's you.
Me?
Introduce yourself to the
Chris
friend.
Smith.
So, Chris, how long have you been doing the podcast, our Cleveland Moto podcast? How many years?
Gosh, about 7 or 8.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
And they've gone uphill since I stopped coming.
They have, right. And so Chris has been a long-time player in our silly band of miscreants that we've done all kinds of adventures together. But what we've thought was funny about you was when we had first met you was all about this GS 450.
Yes, the lovely GS 450.
The lovely GS 450.
The original.
So to our people at home, I'm going to just give you a little detail, and maybe if Sleepy's nice, he can put a picture of the bike right in here. So is yours a 1981?
Correct.
It's an 81. So this bike had all the styling of the 80s Buck Rogers movies. So our TV show, the 80s Buck Rogers TV show. The seat had, it was long and square.
Correct.
Very Lego. And it even had unnecessary rectangular embellishments in the seat. It had a tail.
Yep.
And the thing is, the bike was definitely a cafe racer. It's absolutely a cafe racer. The tank had
their attempt.
Yeah, the tank had a cafe racer shape to it.
Yep.
It's a parallel twin 450. But it was a cafe racer for the Lego community. There wasn't a round edge pretty much anywhere on the bike.
Never needed to be.
Never needed. But it was one of those machines that we got to understand that we develop strong feelings about things when we're younger, and sometimes we soften to them, and sometimes we don't. Now, you bought that bike brand new.
Brand new from Ohio, Suzuki, which is about 3/4 of a mile down the road from here.
From where we are now.
Same side of the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that bike was a brand new purchase for you.
Correct.
In '81.
Correct.
God, man. And
the story behind that was I was working for General Motors for 2 years and got laid off. Back in 1980 when they lost $500 million for 3 quarters in a row, and they said, "Oh, we don't need a bunch of dopes like this guy." So
wait a second, they lost $500 million
for 3 quarters.
3 quarters in a row.
Yeah. So I was in the PR department, traveling around the country. They said, "All right, get rid of these
He's
yo-yos."
clearly not paying off.
Yeah. Get rid of these yo-yos. So I go to unemployment, and the gal at unemployment says, "Well, you get money from the TRA." So TRA is an old thing called the Trade Readjustment Act.
Okay.
So when the cars were being imported in the United States, there was a tax put on the cars that went into a pool of money.
Japanese cars.
Correct.
Right.
Japanese cars,
Yep.
just any imported cars, to give money to displaced American auto workers.
All right.
So the lady says, "Well, you're entitled to Trade Readjustment Act money." I said, "Well, you know what? I'm not really an auto worker. I just worked at General Motors up in Detroit." She says, "It's GM, you get the money."
Rising tide raises all boats.
I said, "Okay, how much do I get?" She says, "You get $2,200. So my $2,200 that I got from the American auto company, I took out and purchased a Japanese motorcycle. and that was my sole source of transportation while I was going to graduate school.
Because your Chevy Citation was broke down.
Never even had one.
Quality is job one.
So I rode the bike back and forth to grad school down at Cleveland State, including in the winter.
Wow.
So much so, and that's when I-90 was open, that the front fender rusted out because we have what on the
salt
all over the place.
Yeah, all salt.
But I hung onto that bike, and the first guy I took it to at Delzani said, "Don't ever bring that bike back here again." Because all the nuts and screws were all
everything on
rusted.
it was just oxidized because salt just destroys everything. Yeah.
So fast forward, I got married, kept riding it, had some kids, put it away, and I get a postcard in the mail saying, "Hey, we'd like to buy your bike for $400. And I looked at that and I said, "Well, fuck you, for $400, I'll hang on to it, right?"
Right.
Fast forward 10 years later, and I'm talking to some guy, he says, "I know who sent you that postcard."
Yeah, exactly.
It was this guy.
It was me. Yeah.
He's trying to buy my bike.
We sent out postcards every year for a long time, trying to encourage people to sell us bikes they weren't riding, because everybody in Cleveland has a garage, which means that our bikes are generally pretty well looked after.
So you were getting bikes and you were shipping them in a container over to
We were
Japan,
sending them over to Japan.
Where they're buying them hand over fist.
Oh, yeah. They crushed all their history.
Yeah, so they love the helmet. So for $400, I said, screw that, I'm hanging on to it.
Yep.
So 14 kids later, no, three children later.
3 boys later.
I decided I was going to get back into it.
Right.
And pushed the bike out and found a place over not too far from here to say, all right, put this back together properly.
Right.
And the guy took the bike and I gave him a hefty down payment.
Yeah.
And he spent the down payment and dicked around with the bike to the point where I said, okay, I met you guys.
Right. Yeah.
I said, go get the fucking bike.
Well, we had talked to Chris, and in the time that we had talked to Chris and asked Chris where the bike was and kind of what work had been done to it, and he's kind of, you know, tap dancing around the fact that, you know, a decent amount of money had been paid already.
Yeah.
And not a lot of work had been shown to be done. Well, in the time that we were discussing this, we had managed to get 5 or 6 cafe racers out of our shop. Yeah. Like from start to finish. And Chris is sitting there going, I'd like to ride the bike I own.
Yeah.
It'd be great. And then, so
then I contracted with you guys to go over to the other joint.
We had to go and repossess Chris's bike for him.
And
it's very awkward.
Yeah, well, it was awkward. Yeah. And you know what? He gave you guys everything except the what?
Oh, a few parts.
Yeah, the carburetors.
The carburetors, which are kind of unobtainium.
Yeah.
And some other parts.
Son of a bitch.
But yeah, exactly. But the funny thing was, some parts of the bike were showroom, concourse quality, polishing and metalworking done to the bike.
Well, he had the frame powder coated and stuff like that. Yep. But that's about as far as he got.
Right.
And he kept all the money.
Somebody was learning how to polish aluminum.
Yeah.
And boy, were they learning how to polish aluminum. Because there were pieces of his bike that had 20 hours of polishing on it, but meanwhile, 20 hours could have damn near finished the bike.
So we brought it back to your shop.
Yep.
And it went upstairs on that wooden lift.
It did. Yep.
And I worked on that thing.
Yeah, Chris would come and visit us, and he would just disappear upstairs with his tools. And he was like that elf that sneaks in the middle of the night and builds shoes. Yeah.
And I essentially got nothing accomplished.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
So and then you guys needed the lift. So then we moved it from
the upstairs
over to the 45 garage.
Exactly. Yep.
And so Dustin.
So 45 garage is the garage where our podcast started, and it's literally our friend Dustin's garage.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Dustin was going to help me put it back together, and so a year later, we had gotten, I think, a couple of wheels on, a couple of.
It was a rolling chassis. It was getting there. Yeah.
And actually, I bought a parts bike.
Well, I was gonna tell people that the only thing the bike needed was a whole other bike.
Yeah.
Because some of the parts that were unobtainium, we could only get by buying an entire other bike.
And you happen to have one.
Yep, we did. We found one.
That you were trying to get out of that storage unit over on Lear or whatever it was. Yeah. So I bought that, rolled it over, So 82 years later.
We didn't know this. You didn't know this, but we had bought that bike that we had.
Yeah.
Because we knew that you would ultimately need it.
You're the best.
Well, we kind of took a look.
I like it.
We took a lay of the land and we were like,
fuck,
wow.
He needs shit.
He's gonna need like 7 parts.
Yeah.
And we could either go crazy for 2 years trying to find these 7 parts, or I see a guy who happens to be selling a GS 450. I'm just gonna buy the damn thing. Right.
Yeah.
And so we did, and that ended up saving us because we then had every part we needed. Yeah. But what a project, man.
So then we got the sucker put back together, and you know what? It looks great, and what's even more fun is it now has a big brother owned by Steepy, Sleeve. It's easy for me to say, Steve Sleepy Cinch. But it's so much fun for me to run around with Steve because same.
Oh, the bikes are a 450 and an 850 with the same paint scheme.
Color schemes.
Identical.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
very neat.
That makes it even more fun.
And every single mile that's on that bike, you put on it.
That's correct.
So, I mean, every mile that was ever been put on that machine from the day it existed, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I think it's like 1,600 miles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really
No, I'm teasing.
16,000 miles. Yeah, exactly. That bike's got a few miles on it. But it's a really fun thing.
But that was the genesis of me spending time hanging around your shop over in Lakewood because I'd walk around. Remember, I saw the Royal Enfield, the C5 military. I said, well, let me buy this bike. And he said, well, no, that belongs to the customer. I go, God damn it.
He chose the wrong time. He chose the perfect time to come in and fall in love with a military green Royal Enfield. It was the last one that we could get. And it was literally the last time we had one. And I was like, oh, Chris, come on, man. You're literally a day late.
Yeah.
And he ordered a next one, and it took forever for that thing to come in.
It did,
It took
but it came in.
months to come in. Yeah. And I was yelling at him like, I have one pre-sold. You have no idea. You got to get this bike to me. And they're like, yeah, if that bike comes from India, we're not changing our schedule for you. And
or for Chris Smith.
Right, but it was cool because that was a bike that you had an impulse reaction to.
Yep.
And I would say, I think that was probably the first bike you had an impulse reaction to.
Yep.
After your GS450.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
yeah, that's neat. When you see a bike and you're like, fuck, I need that.
That's the one.
That's a cool thing.
The one.
That's really, really neat. That's great, man. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for a minute.
You're the best.
And giving us a moto story.
Nobody does it better.
Yeah, after a year, come on. We're what, 77 episodes, and we just, again, as long as we keep meeting cool people, we're gonna keep doing Moto Stories.
Beautiful.
It's fun.
I love it.
All right, man, that's it. You can find us, reach out to us, send us a comment, send us a suggestion to motostorieswithUnkiePhil@gmail.com. It's very long, it's very distinguished. And
send us a photo of your favorite GS450 Suzuki.
Yeah, if it's got the Buck Rogers paint job, that's absolutely. The thing reminds me of Tweaky, that robot that was like beady beady beady.
That's right.
That's cool,
yeah,
Buck.
I agree.
That's the color scheme of that. I had that little action figure when I was a kid. So that's it, guys. Ride fast and take chances. Ba 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 ba. Hit the red button, Steve. Nice.